In labor and facing a heart-wrenching choice, she revealed an incredible secret that changed Eve. The winds howled like a pack of wolves outside Eve's small farmhouse, rattling the windows and shaking the old wooden beams. It was the kind of storm that settled heavy on your chest. As the rain lashed against the roof, Eve felt an unmistakable cramp, a jolt of pain that she couldn't ignore. She paused in the dim light of her kitchen, 3 deep breaths guiding her through the rolling waves of discomfort. With a flicker of fear, she realized this was it. She was alone. The weight of her impending labor hung heavy over her like the clouds closing in on the night. She glanced upstairs at her 3 children, nestled in their beds, blissfully ignorant of the storm raging and her internal crisis. Memories of her father flooded her mind. "The farm is everything, Eve," he had told her in his last days, his voice gravelly with age and worry. "It's our legacy." But how could she continue his dream when her own life felt so fragile, threatened by lack of support and time? The labor pains intensified, knotting her stomach. She was torn between the instinct to keep her family together and the fear of the past creeping up. A flicker of hope shone through her anxiety. If only her brother Jake would answer the phone. But could she risk it? He was a man who had fought demons of his own, a veteran with a reputation in town for his short temper. Eve shuddered, thinking of the harsh whispers that would ensue should she reach out. "You're letting that trouble back in," they would say, eyes narrowing with judgment. As she caught her breath, pain flooding her body, a deep-seated choice swelled within her: stick to the path of isolation or take a leap and mend what had been broken. She felt the need for unity, warmth, connection. That longing felt almost alien. It had been so long since she could truly trust anyone. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Eve clenched her jaw and bit back tears. Another cramp gripped her, sharper this time. She thought of her father again, and a buried family secret he had whispered to her in hushed tones before he died. A plan, a way to save the farm. Could Jake help? Could he change? As another wave of pain surged, the conflict roared through her. Fighting against the storm outside and within her, a flicker of her father's spirit pushed her forward. If she could be brave enough, maybe they could heal together. Maybe together they could breathe new life into the family legacy. Gripping the phone, her heart thundered in her chest with a frantic rhythm, a blend of fear and excitement. Her trembling fingers hovered over the number. With a gasp, she pressed call, praying that this time, this moment, would spark the change her family so desperately needed. The phone rang, each chime echoing into the heavy silence of the kitchen. Eve's heart raced, pounding like a drum in her chest. She glanced again at the stairs as if expecting her children to awaken and seek her out. Instead, the quiet was suffocating, the storm outside their only companion. Then came Jake's gruff voice, a mix of surprise and concern. "Eve? What's wrong?" Panic surged through her, twisting her insides. She wanted to spill out all her fears and the burden she carried, but reality suffocated her words. Instead, she spoke slowly, carefully, as if each syllable could shatter the fragile connection. "I'm in labor." A pause lingered on the line, thick with unspoken fears. Jake's breath sounded heavy on the other end. "What do you need?" "I can come," he answered, urgency clawing at his tone. Eve took a deep breath, fighting against the rising tide of vulnerability. The thought of having her brother by her side felt like a lifeline thrown in a raging sea. "I need you here. I can't do this alone." She could hear him shift, the faint sound of rustling cloth as he grabbed his coat or keys. "I'll be there soon. Just hold on, okay?" A wave of relief washed over her, mingling with fresh waves of pain. "Thank you," she breathed, trembling. She set the phone down, the warmth of the conversation still hanging in the air. But the reality of her labor was relentless, tightening its grip on her. Eve stepped to the side of the kitchen sink, resting her hand on the cool surface. The pain was getting stronger, each contraction feeling like a freight train crashing against her. With every wave, she thought of her children, innocent and asleep upstairs. She wanted to whisper sweet promises into their dreams, to assure them that everything would be okay. She glanced around the worn-down kitchen, the remnants of dinners past, chock with memories of laughter and tears. Here, her father had taught her about planting seeds, the way they needed care, patience, and love. Was her family any different? Jake arrived in what felt like an eternity. The door slammed against the wind as he rushed in, soaking wet but still strong and alert. He looked like a different man, a mix of the brother she remembered and the war-torn veteran he had become. "Where are you?" he asked, looking for her with frantic eyes before finding her by the sink. "I'm here," she managed, fighting the pain. She felt fear rising within her as he reached out for her. Their stilted relationship gripped her heart, but the moment she saw the concern etched on his face, a warmth blossomed between them. He stepped closer, his voice low and steady. "You're doing great, I'm right here." The next contraction hit her harder than the last, and she gripped the edge of the sink tightly. "I need to get to the hospital," she gasped, the urgency of it almost paralyzing. Suddenly, fear merged with another realization: Jake had been her only chance to keep the hope of the farm alive by helping with the burden she now felt. Could past grievances really fade amidst the chaos of the moment? She needed him now more than ever. "Let us go." "I've got you," he said, stepping into the storm without pause. The world outside was a cacophony of rain and wind as they made their way to the truck. Eve hardly noticed the chaos swirling around them. All she could think about was the tiny life pushing its way into the world, the legacy she so desperately wanted to protect. With each step, she clung to the possibility that this could mark the beginning of something new for them both. But little did she know, a life-changing revelation awaited them at the hospital, a truth that would shatter the fragile peace they had just begun to forge. The storm lashed against the windows of the truck, a wild orchestra accompanying their hurried journey. Jake's focus was intense, knuckles white on the steering wheel as the windshield wipers struggled to clear the relentless rain. The low rumble of thunder was a reminder of the world beyond, but inside their small sanctuary, a different storm raged, one of pain and hope. Eve shifted in her seat, every bump in the road sending waves of discomfort through her. She pressed a clammy hand on her belly, as if trying to soothe the life within. "Jake," she breathed, glancing at him out of the corner of her eye. "What if something goes wrong?" His jaw tightened, a flash of uncertainty crossing his face. "We're going to be okay," he replied, but his voice lacked the conviction she needed. "Just keep breathing." No sooner had the words left his lips than a new, sharp contraction hit her, forcing a gasp from her. She squeezed her eyes shut, fighting against the tangle of worry and fear. Was she ready for this? All the dreams she spun for her children, for the future of the farm, now felt far bigger than any pain she felt. "I can't believe this is happening," she managed between breaths. "Why now? I thought I had more time." "It's going to be okay," Jake reassured her, though his eyes darted between the road and her. The worry etched on his face almost broke her heart. He hadn't signed up for this. They hadn't signed up for a lifetime of hurt and distance between them. As they approached the hospital, Eve felt the rising tidal wave of reality. In an instant, life would change irreversibly. She blinked her eyes open, watching the familiar contours of the town slip by in a blur, reminding her of the moments she cherished, the laughter, the tears, the everyday family chaos. Would they really find a way to mend fences amidst the raw emotions of birth, pain, and past mistakes? The hospital loomed over them, a building of sterile light cutting through the heavy rain. Jake parked the truck and jumped out, rushing to her side. He opened the door, offering a hand. Eve took it, feeling the warmth radiating from him just as a bolt of lightning cracked overhead. "Let us do this," he urged, his voice firm. With shaky legs, she climbed out, gripping the handle of the passenger door tightly. Together, they ran toward the entrance, dodging puddles, the cold rain soaking through their clothes. Each step brought her closer to the unknown, and yet, a flicker of determination ignited within her. Once inside, the bright fluorescent lights felt jarring, and the antiseptic smell stung her nostrils. A nurse approached, clipboard in hand, and Eve could feel the weight of scrutiny on her as they checked in. "Eve Baker," she managed to say, swallowing against rising nerves. "Follow me," the nurse instructed, leading them down a long corridor. Eve's heart raced, fear creeping in with each step. The memories of her father flooded back, the stories of resilience, of facing demons head-on. She would need that strength now. In the delivery room, the world shrank to just her and Jake, the surrounding chaos fading away. The nurse instructed her to settle onto the bed, and Jake took a spot by her side, his gaze steadying her. "We're in this together," he said, holding her hand firmly. As they prepared for the journey ahead, Eve felt a surge of hope. Perhaps she could finally share the secret she had clung to, the one that haunted her breaths and lingered in her thoughts. "Jake," she started, but the contraction that followed stole her words and stretched time. Pain laced through her, but she felt a rush of adrenaline, a prompting to push through not just her body, but the barriers built over the years between them. The nurse glanced up, sensing the urgency. "You're doing great, Eve. Just let it come." Push. With every push, Eve's mind burned with the truths she had kept hidden, aching to be released like the child being born. "Jake," she finally cried out. "There's something you don't know. Something I've been keeping from you." But the next contraction came on too quickly, drowning her voice in a flood of pain. What would he do with what she was about to reveal? Would it shatter everything, or would it be the key to healing a fractured bond? Even as she pushed, she forged a desperate connection, hoping this moment would transform them both. What awaited them on the other side of this? All she knew was, when the dust settled, everything might change. And it was all too late to turn back now. The room pulsed with intensity. Each contraction felt like a thunderstorm inside her, crashing waves of pain, yet accompanied by flickers of hope. Eve's breath came in short bursts, her heart pounding as she fought to keep her focus. Jake's presence grounded her, but the thought of what she was about to reveal hung heavy in the air. "Breathe, Eve," he urged, his voice low yet steady, piercing through the haze of anguish that clouded her mind. "You've got this." Every fiber of her being screamed for her to share her truth, the words clawing at her throat. But as the doctor entered, a wave of chaos churned in, shifting her focus away from her secret. A friendly smile broke through the tension in the room. "Ready to meet your little one?" Not quite, she thought. But could she be? Could she lay bare the truth amid life's greatest miracle? Eve nodded, swallowing hard. "Yes." Her voice trembled with uncertainty. "All right, on the next contraction, I want you to give me a good push," the doctor instructed, adjusting her position with careful authority. It was as if every word became both a command and a promise of what was to come. The next contraction hit like a freight train. She grimaced, her grip tightening around Jake's hand, as a ripple of pain surged through her core. I can't do this." A sob escaped, her fears spilling over in that moment. "Yes, you can." Jake's voice was a lifeline, pulling her out of the spiraling doubt. "You're stronger than you think. I believe in you." The flutter of tears prickled her eyes, blurring the sterile white of the room. She felt his unwavering support like a beacon. In that instant, she made a choice not just to endure the pain, but to set her heart free. "Jake," she breathed, her voice barely above a whisper as she summoned the strength for one more push. "I need you to know." "Now, Eve," the doctor encouraged, and for a fleeting moment, the urgency silenced the world around her. Eve dug deep, fueled by the mix of fear and fervent hope. She pushed, the room swirling, her body straining against the forces demanding release. A guttural sound escaped her lips, a primal grunt that echoed in the small space, and then a pause. A moment where time stretched, twisted, as if the universe held its breath. "Just a little more. You're almost there." The nurse's chant seemed to intertwine with Jake's steady presence, wrapping around her like a blanket. It was then, in that split second, that the truth became crystal clear. The child she was about to bring into the world was not just a reflection of them. It was the culmination of everything they had hoped for, everything that had once brought them together. I'm so scared, but Jake, I love you. I love you. The confession burst forth, raw and unfiltered. As if echoing her resolve, a rush cascaded over her one final push. With everything she had left, Eve let go of the secret like a weight thrown from her shoulders. The cries of a newborn shattered the tension that gripped the air. Tears spilled from her eyes as she felt the world around her shift. Jake's face transformed, awash in emotion, his eyes wide with disbelief and joy. It's a girl, Eve. We did it! But before the joy could fully settle, the reality of her confession clung in silence. Jake's gaze met hers, a mix of confusion and realization stirring in the depths as she thought about the truth still hanging in the air, the secret she had revealed amidst the chaos of motherhood. What would happen when the storm outside matched the tempest brewing inside? And in that tender moment, Eve knew one thing for sure: life would never be the same again. The real journey was just beginning. What other revelations lay ahead, waiting to surface like the baby cradled within her arms? Eve cradled the tiny girl against her chest, the newborn's cries fading into soft whimpers. The enormity of the moment filled her with an overwhelming sense of purpose. She had brought life into the world, yet far more complicated feelings swirled within her. Jake stared at their daughter, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. But a shadow loomed between them, an invisible barrier shaped by the truth she had just spilled. The weight of Eve's words echoed in the stillness of the room. I love you. Simple, yet charged with a million implications she hadn't fully processed. As Jake approached, his smile wavered, brimming with joy but laced with questions. Eve, what did you mean? His voice was gentle but steady, piercing through the haze of disbelief. What secret? Her heart raced as she looked at him, her mind scrambling for the right words. Images of their past flashed through her mind, the love they shared, the laughter, the arguments, everything they had fought for. But how would he react when he learned the extent of what she had concealed? Taking a shaky breath, Eve forced herself to meet his gaze. I didn't know I was pregnant for a long time. I thought it was stress, or something else. I was scared to find out. The confession spilled out, each word both freeing and shackling. And I found out later than I should have. It was a whirlwind, and I didn't want to burden you. I thought what? Jake interrupted, a frown forming on his brow. That I wouldn't be there for you? For this? He gestured to their daughter, his expression teetering between shock and hurt. No, Eve's voice wavered, a wave of emotion crashing over her. I wanted to protect you. Protect us. I was terrified of what it would mean. His eyes narrowed slightly, the truth weighing on him heavily. Eve, this is our baby. I'm here, right? Why would you think we'd face it alone? She felt the knot in her throat tighten. Because I knew it would change everything, Jake. I didn't want you to look at me differently, or to regret. Regret. The word hung in the air like a specter, daring to seep into the cracks of their burgeoning family. And you think hiding a child would somehow spare me that? Jake's voice softened, yet the hurt coursed through his words. You've just given me the greatest gift of my life, and you think I want to be out of the picture? Eve's breath quickened. She could see the flicker of worry in his eyes, questions barely hidden beneath the surface. I didn't mean to keep it from you. It just happened. I thought? He was growing frustrated, his tone pressing against her like a weight. You haven't given me a chance to decide what this means to me. You decided alone. His words cut deep, sending an echo through her that felt like ice water. As their eyes locked, the enormity of her actions crashed through her. She had thought she was protecting them both, but perhaps all she had done was place a wall between them. Their daughter squirmed in her arms, a reminder of the life that now rested on the edge of a knife. Eve knew she had to push through this raw moment, reveal the cracks beneath her bravado. I thought if I could just keep my fears to myself, it would be easier. I thought I could bear it alone. Jake stepped closer, an urgency flickering in his eyes. But you don't have to. You're not alone. Not now. Not ever. I want to face this together. Just talk to me. Tears streamed down her cheeks as the reality sank in. Could she pull down her walls, let him in fully, after all? Just as the fear of potential loss had wrapped around her heart, could love weave them back together? "I'm so scared, Jake," she admitted, her voice small but fierce. "I want to be the best mother, the best partner. I'm scared I've messed it all up before it even began." His expression softened, the storm in his eyes giving way to understanding. "You didn't mess anything up, Eve. We're in this together. But we have to be honest with each other from now on." The weight felt lighter yet still heavy. A wave of relief washed over her, but shadows still edged at her thoughts. What if the truth didn't just challenge their bond, but shattered it completely? And yet, as she gazed into her daughter's eyes, those deep, curious orbs, Eve thought, maybe, just maybe, they'd find a way through this storm as a family. But as the calm settled around them, a nagging hint of doubt rooted itself deep. Could they truly piece together the fragments of their love and build a future? Or were they standing at the edge of a cliff, ready to fall into chaos? Eve wiped her tears, resting her forehead gently against her daughter's. The weight of guilt felt lighter but still lingered heavily in her chest. She could feel the warmth radiating from Jake as he stood next to her, a quiet strength that both comforted and unsettled her. "What if I told you that I can't face the world without you?" Jake whispered, his voice almost breaking. It felt as though each word was an invitation, a promise, coaxing her to let him in fully. She took a deep breath, trying to center herself while the baby nestled closer to her, instinctively seeking warmth. "It's not just about me anymore, Jake. It's about all of us." Jake's brow furrowed, the weight of her words pressing down. "What if that us became the strongest it's ever been? What if we turned this whole mess into something beautiful?" He smiled, a flicker of hope dancing in his eyes. "What if we embraced the madness together?" The idea hung in the air, shimmering with possibility. Eve wanted to grasp onto it, yet fear clenched her heart, reminding her of the risks. What if they failed? What if the weight of their decisions pulled them apart instead of knitting their family closer? "I can barely take care of myself right now, let alone lead us through a storm," she admitted, glancing away. It felt vulnerable to share that truth, but standing in that hospital room, she realized how much she needed to let down her guard. Jake took a step closer, lowering his voice. "You're stronger than you think. You brought our daughter into this world. That takes incredible strength and courage, Eve. I'm in awe of you." His words washed over her like a soothing balm, easing some of her despair. But just as quickly, another thought pressed in. "But what about your dreams? Your plans?" Jake shook his head, his gaze intense. "When I look at you both, all I see is a new beginning. This baby, she's our future, Eve. I'd trade 100 dreams to keep that innocence and spark alive in her eyes. I'd trade all my plans for the chance to hold you close." Emotion swelled inside her, a bright flame amidst the fear. This raw connection, this unguarded exchange, it felt like home. But still, a nagging worry clawed at her, whispering doubts into her mind. What if we're not enough? What if the love we feel isn't strong enough to carry all this? What if... She paused, not wanting to voice the worst-case scenarios that kept her up at night. But Jake interjected, "What if we are? What if love isn't about being perfect? What if it's about being there, fighting together when times get tough? We can learn." He took her hand, intertwining their fingers. The warmth radiated between them, a tether amid the storm brewing in her mind. "Let us promise each other, right here and right now, to keep no more secrets," he urged, searching her eyes intently. With a shaky breath, Eve nodded. A sliver of hope pierced through her uncertainty. She didn't know what lay ahead, but she trusted Jake. Together, they could navigate the start of this new chapter, messy as it might be. But as they settled into a moment of quiet understanding, the door creaked open. A nurse peeked in, breaking the heavy silence. "Time for the baby's first check," she announced cheerfully, though her bright demeanor felt at odds with the tension that had enveloped the room. Eve's heart raced again, this time with trepidation. They still had so much to figure out, decisions to make that could change everything. "Okay," Eve murmured, squeezing Jake's hand tighter as if anticipating the unknown. What challenges awaited them in the coming moments? What truths still lurked in the shadows, ready to emerge? As the nurse entered and approached them with a myriad of questions, Eve looked to Jake, seeking silent reassurance. The journey had only just begun, and the path ahead remained unclear, yet all at once, she felt something shift, perhaps a way to embrace both the chaos and the joy together. But with every word exchanged, every decision looming just out of sight, Eve wondered, would they really emerge stronger together? Or was this just the beginning of a struggle they weren't ready to face? The nurse moved with purpose, her clipboard clutched tightly in one hand. "Let us see how our little star is doing," she said, a smile lighting up her face as she approached the bassinet. Eve couldn't help but lean forward, her heart hammering in her chest as they both watched their daughter being gently examined. But mingled with their anticipation was a wave of dread. What if something was wrong? It crept back in, clawing at Eve's fragile hope. She wanted to ask for reassurance, but the words stuck in her throat. Instead, she squeezed Jake's hand tighter, seeking the strength she'd felt moments ago. "Isabel," the nurse said, looking down at the baby. "Beautiful name." She tapped some keys on her clipboard. "I'll just take a few measurements. You'll be amazed at how quickly they grow." Jake knelt closer, whispering sweet nothings to their daughter, his voice a delicate hum. Eve watched him, his everything focused on the tiny being between them. That love, the depth of it was almost overwhelming. It made her wonder how two hearts could hammer so fiercely for one little girl. "What if we're not ready?" Eve finally whispered, her voice barely audible over the soft sounds of beeping machines and the nurse's gentle inquiries. Jake's gaze never left their daughter. "Maybe we are more ready than we think," he replied softly. "We can do this. Together." She closed her eyes, allowing his words to wash over her. Yet still, doubt nipped at her heels like a persistent shadow. The past loomed large. Their old lives felt like distant memories. How could they possibly handle everything that was about to change? The nurse finished her checkup, carefully adjusting the baby's blanket as she stood. "She is perfect," she announced with a brightness that momentarily lifted the gloom. "A healthy weight and all systems normal. You're going to have your hands full with this one." Relief washed over Eve like a gentle tide. A smile slowly crept onto her face. Yet even in that moment of joy, fear still lingered. What if their lives became too chaotic? What if they lost themselves in the whirlwind of parenthood? Before she could voice her fears, the nurse spoke again, her tone shifting just slightly. "Is everything okay? You both seem a little tense." Jake shot a quick glance at Eve, as if asking for permission to open up about the weight they were carrying. "It's a lot," he admitted. "We're trying to figure out our next steps." The nurse nodded knowingly. "Every new parent feels that way. It's a huge responsibility. But remember, you don't have to do it alone. Lean on each other. Lean on friends, family. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it." Eve's throat tightened. Help. A word that had always felt so foreign to her. But what if she reached out? What if she let others in? Could they express their needs without faltering? "Thank you," she said, her voice steadier than before. As the nurse left to give them some privacy, Eve turned to Jake, her heart racing with fresh determination. "Maybe we can take a parenting class? Or talk to other parents?" Jake grinned, his enthusiasm infectious. "Absolutely. And we can have people over, make a whole thing out of it. It's worth a shot, right?" Eve felt the weight of her fears ease slightly. The idea of inviting others into their journey, sharing both the joys and the struggles, sparked something inside her. "Let us really do this," she agreed, vibrant hopes spilling into their moment. But just as they were starting to feel lifted, a sudden thought crashed over Eve. "Jake," she said, her voice laced with urgency. "We need to talk about what happened, the choices we made. I need you to understand everything. There is something I haven't shared yet." No longer could she hold her secrets close. Jake turned to her, an edge of concern flashing across his eyes. "What is it, Eve?" Her heart pounded as the weight of her words crystallized into something heavy and transformative. She took a deep breath, ready to confront the truth, a truth that could either bind them together tighter or tear them apart. And in that pivotal moment of choice, the air thick with possibilities. Eve wondered how this revelation would redefine their world. Would they be able to stand the impact, or would it send them spiraling into the unknown? Eve's voice trembled as she prepared to share her secret. Jake, it's about the plan we had. It's more complicated than I thought. She could feel the gravity of each word hanging in the air. She swallowed hard, searching for a way to explain the storm of thoughts racing in her mind. What do you mean? Jake's brow furrowed, a hint of worry etched across his face. What plan? The one about trying for a baby. I had fears, things I didn't tell you. I wasn't just unsure about parenthood. I was terrified. Silence washed over them, interrupted only by the distant sound of a baby's soft cooing from the bassinet. Eve glanced at their daughter and took a breath, as if to hold on to her moment of clarity. I thought I was in control. But when I got pregnant, everything I'd pushed aside rushed back. Jake leaned closer, his focus unwavering. What do you mean, fears? You can tell me, Eve. I promise I won't judge. I wasn't just worried about my career or losing our freedom. I thought about my past. About my mom. Her eyes glistened with memories she'd kept buried. She wasn't ready to be a mom either, and she didn't handle it well. Jake shifted, his expression softening. You don't have to be like her. You're not her, Eve. I know. Tears finally spilled over her cheeks, each one a release from her bottled-up pain. But some days I'm afraid I will be. What if I can't be the mother Isabel needs? What if I end up repeating the cycle? Jake squeezed her hand, anchoring her to the moment, and she took a shaky breath. When I found out I was pregnant, those fears took hold. It felt suffocating. I didn't know how to tell you. The air thickened between them as if the weight of Eve's honesty pulled gravity closer. Jake seemed to grapple with her revelations, processing the fear and the intensity of her emotions. Baby, I wish you told me sooner. But I'm proud of you for being brave enough to share this. We can work through this together. Eve felt a glimmer of hope blossom at his words. Yet a nagging voice in the back of her mind warned her to tread carefully. I just don't want to hurt our daughter. She deserves better than I had. Neither of us are perfect. Jake spoke gently, determination lining his words. But you're already doing better, just by acknowledging your past. We have the chance to break that cycle, Eve. We can create a new story for Isabel. Feeling lighter, she leaned into Jake's shoulder, the warmth and support of his embrace grounding her. The moment felt fragile, as if it could break, but it also felt transformative. They were standing on a precipice together, one that demanded courage. But with relief came a fear that clawed at her thoughts again. What if I can't change? Eve whispered, uncertainty creeping back into her heart. What if I lose myself in this? Knowing you can lose yourself is the first step in making sure you don't. You have the power to reach out when you need to, Eve. I'm here, and we'll find our way. As the love between them pulsed in the quiet room, Eve knew it wouldn't be easy. Life had never been straightforward, and motherhood promised both joy and struggle. But just then, a faint sound from the bassinet disrupted the moment. Isabel's little hands began to move, as if to test the air around her. Eve's heart swelled with both love and fear, a whirlwind of emotions that felt entirely new. In that instant, she realized the truth of their journey. It wouldn't be easy, but maybe, just maybe, they could forge something beautiful out of the uncertainty. Let us promise, no more hiding, she said, her voice a whisper of resolve. Jake nodded, conviction in his eyes. Absolutely. Together, we can face anything. However, just as a sense of calm settled in, a sharp knock startled them both. A doctor stepped into the room, a worried frown crossing her face. I need to speak with you too. It's about Isabel. Eve's heart raced as she glanced at Jake. The moment felt suspended in time, every second stretching painfully long. The doctor's expression spoke volumes. It registered with an instinctive fear that clutched at Eve's chest. She squeezed Jake's hand, steadying herself for whatever news lay ahead. What's wrong? Jake asked, his voice a touch higher, filled with concern. The doctor took a step inside, closing the door softly behind her. Isabel, she needs a deeper examination. There's something we need to assess. Eve's stomach dropped at the uncertainty in the doctor's tone. What do you mean? Her breathing isn't quite normal. It could be nothing, but we can't take any chances. Panic flooded Eve's veins, stripping her ability to think clearly. She felt like she was in a dream, as if the walls of the room were closing in. Is she going to be okay? We'll do everything we can, I promise. The doctor's reassurance felt more of a blanket than a remedy, but it was something. The warmth of Jake's hand grounded her, though her grip tightened reflexively. Let us go with you, Jake said, voice steady despite the fear etched across his features. We need to be there. She felt an undeniable surge of protectiveness. Isabel was their little miracle. Please, Eve whispered, desperation creeping into her voice. The doctor nodded, leading them down the corridor. As they walked, the sounds of the hospital echoed around them, the beeping of monitors, the hushed conversations of nurses, the faint murmurs of other parents. Each sound became a reminder of the fragility of life, filling Eve's heart with dread. In a small examination room, they arrived and were directed to sit. I'll just monitor her for a moment, the doctor assured them before stepping away with a practiced calmness. Eve watched as Isabel lay nestled in the bassinet, her tiny chest rising and falling rhythmically. But every breath felt like a weight. What if something is wrong? Eve couldn't help but breathe the fear into her thoughts. Trust the doctors. They're here to help, Jake said softly, but Eve sensed the apprehension in his voice. Jake, what if we're not ready for this? What if it's already too much to handle? They say the first year is the toughest, but no one talks about health scares. Her words tumbled out in a rush, a cathartic release. Whatever comes, we'll deal with it together. Just like we promised. His steady eyes held her gaze, igniting a flicker of hope amidst her spiraling thoughts. But even as he spoke, a cold sense of unpredictability loomed. Eve's mind danced back to her fears of inadequacy, that cycle of disappointment from her childhood pressing against her. Isabel stirred, a soft whimper escaping her lips, and all those anxieties slipped away for a moment. Only the overwhelming urge to protect her child remained. I'm here, sweetheart, Eve cooed, her heart swelling at the sight of her baby looking for comfort. A whoosh of relief washed over her as the nurse entered the room, a kind smile on her face. Isabel is stable, but the doctor wants to run a few tests to ensure everything is functioning as it should. Eve felt the knot and her stomach loosened just a bit. Does that mean she is going to be okay? The nurse nodded, her expression reassuring yet serious. We just need to be cautious. It's best to check in times like this. The door swung open again, and the doctor returned, her eyes serious but kind. We'll need to do some scans to rule out any issues with her lungs. It might take some time, but we'll keep you updated. Eve felt her pulse quicken again. Time stretched unbearably. She clutched Jake's hand tighter, feeling the pulse of fear and love coursing through them both, teetering on the edge of uncertainty. As she looked down at Isabel, Eve already sensed the weight of making decisions, big and small, that could shape their family's future. In that moment, a painful truth dawned on her: their journey as parents was only just beginning, fraught with challenges they had yet to comprehend. But would she have the strength to face them all? The answer hung in the air, and as the nurse motioned for them to follow to another room, Eve couldn't shake the thought: how deep would her courage go when it truly mattered? Was she ready to be the mother Isabel needed, especially in trying times? The heart-wrenching choice lay ahead. Eve squeezed Jake's hand tightly, a lifeline in the storm threatening to upend their fragile world. They had just stepped into the small examination room, and the fluorescent lights seemed harsher, illuminating the unease in both of their eyes. As the doctor explained the process, her words felt like distant echoes, muffled under the weight of anxiety. Stay close, Eve, Jake said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. We'll get through this together. That simple reminder sparked a flicker of resilience deep within Eve. She looked at Isabel, small and perfect, nestled in the bassinet. Her little face scrunched up, and a tiny whimper escaped, as if sensing the tension in the air. What if something is wrong? Her heart ached, and the fear from moments before spiraled back into existence. Jake turned to her, brow furrowed in determination. But what if everything's okay? We have to believe that. The doctor re-entered, clipboard in hand, her eyes kind yet steely. Isabel is stable for now, but we want to reassure you by running some tests. As the scans were organized, the gravity of the moment hung uncomfortably in the air. Eve gave a shaky breath, summoning the courage she had tried to find since that call earlier in the storm. Jake, she began, voice trembling, I think we need to talk about our plan, our future. This moment, it makes everything feel real. He nodded, understanding flashing in his eyes. Whatever it is, I'm ready to listen. A sudden wave of vulnerability hit her hard. I don't want to lose us. I've been scared to step fully into being a mom, scared I'll mess it all up. But right now, looking at Isabel, all I want is for her to have everything I didn't have. Jake stepped closer, holding her hand in both of his. You're going to be an incredible mother, Eve. You already are. We're going to create a life, a family together. We can do this, I know we can. Their eyes locked, and for the first time, she felt the past burdens lift slightly. Perhaps dreams were meant to be shared. In that simple confession, she could sense a glimmer of a new beginning. As the doctor explained the procedure, Eve's heart raced with every piece of information. Jake's thumb brushed over her knuckles, both a promise and a comfort. She could feel that love radiating between them now, strong enough to carry them through whatever might come, and then, a breakthrough moment arrived. We're ready, she said, her voice steady. Whatever happens next, we face it together. With that affirmation, the room filled with a newfound light. Isabel's breathing remained strong, her small hands exploring the edges of her blanket with curiosity. Eve smiled, hope blossoming as she gazed down at her baby girl. Hours felt like minutes until the doctor returned, beaming with a smile that lit the room. I'm thrilled to report, Isabel's tests came back normal. No issues with her lungs, she's perfectly healthy. Joy erupted between them. Eve clasped Jake's hand, her heart soaring. Thank you, God, she whispered, overwhelmed by tears of relief. He leaned in, his forehead resting against hers, an intimate connection that felt like home. We can do this, Eve. You just showed me how strong we are together. With renewed vigor, Eve gazed at their daughter, the essence of hope and possibility. The shadows that had loomed felt lighter now, more like passing clouds than thunderous storms. Let us create a future for her, Eve said, determination sparking her voice. A life full of laughter, love, and honesty. No more hiding. We'll face challenges together, head on. As they stepped back into the fluorescent-lit corridor, she grasped Jake's hand tighter. The world outside still roared with uncertainty, but now it was their journey to navigate. And as they walked together with their daughter, Eve felt something shift. Their family was no longer defined by secrets or fear, it was imbued with strength and fragile hope. Looking back at Jake, she saw him as he really was, a partner, a brother, a father. He would stand by her through every storm they'd face. And for the first time in a long time, she smiled, truly smiled, knowing that they would build a legacy together. As they emerged from the hospital, rain began to drizzle, but instead of dread, Eve felt invigorated. This is just the beginning. I'm ready for it all, Jake. His smile widened, and in that moment, the lingering clouds of doubt parted. Ready as we'll ever be, he replied, their hands entwined, and as they stepped outside, with their little girl cradled securely in Eve's arms, they faced the world anew. It was indeed their moment of transformation, and together they would learn the art of love, one step at a time. Now, if you've made it this far with us, there's something you need to do. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss any more exclusive stories that can inspire you like this one. Leave a like now to feed that algorithm and show your support, it really makes a difference. Trust me. Comment below with your thoughts, reactions, and feelings about this ending. I want to hear from you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who could use this message of hope and transformation. Together we can build a community that stands strong.